Often when we hear the term judgment, we're like, don't judge me. But in the context of the Values and Actions Survey, when you're talking about the character strength of judgment, you're looking at the ability to examine ideas fairly and thoughtfully, or to be able to tell what is real now as opposed to what might be a flashback from the past or a fear of the future. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you counseling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. Welcome back to Practical Solutions for PTSD. Before we jump into today's lesson, which I'm excited to talk to you about, but I want to take just a moment to celebrate a huge milestone. Today, I graduated from the program that helped me build this podcast, A Podcast to Profit, taught by Stephanie Gass. If any of you guys are wanting to start a podcast, highly recommend working with her. She's an unapologetic Christian. She leads from the heart with God, but she also has a phenomenal business brain. Great program. But anyway, I signed up for this a year ago, and today was my last day, and it was bittersweet. I've cried today because it's like my last day with these incredible, amazing people that lead that program. But also getting to the place that I can step out on my own for a little while. And the fact that I have a podcast. I mean, we're in like 65 different countries now. I'm closing in on 3,000 downloads. It's been an amazing journey. And I'm so excited that you have helped me get there as listeners, and the P2P team, or the Podcast to Profit team. They have really supported that journey, and all the work that has gone into this, the late nights, the tears, the frustrations, the times that I was like, I can't take another step. I can't go any further. And then God would send something to encourage me and help me to know I was on the right path and to keep moving forward. So super excited to celebrate this milestone with y'all, that, my graduation. So I guess it's more of my milestone than your milestone, but I'm super excited about it. I just wanted to share that good news with you guys before we move into today's topic. Speaking of, we are moving into our third character strength as we work our way through the Not Broken, Equipped series. And just a reminder, if you're jumping in this, if this is the first time you've heard this, you're like, what in the world is she talking about? I will link the past episodes in the chat below. You can also look, or in the comments below. You can also look through the podcast episodes, look for anything titled Not Broken, Equipped. Basically, the whole idea behind this is that you are equipped with tools that can help you most effectively combat depression, anxiety, PTSD, break free from loneliness, whatever that may be, whatever trauma or difficulty you're facing. You have tools at your fingertips that you were born with that are like your magic potion in dealing with this. And so the process of working through these character strengths is to help you to figure out which ones you have, and to be able to use those, how you can use those specifically for overcoming trauma of whatever kind, whatever stripe, and how you can develop them and what areas to avoid. Because sometimes we can get into trouble if we overuse those character strengths. And this is a perfect example of what I do in my anxiety and depression breakthrough coaching sessions. We're not talking about all your hard memories, or, we don't have to have hours and hours and hours a day, or, think about all kinds of different, weeks and months and years. It's to help you to be able to figure out what you have, that, what your personality is, what your love language is, what works for you and what doesn't work for you, to help you effectively and efficiently develop tools that help you to combat depression, anxiety, PTSD, whatever that could be, to help you to rebuild relationships, to connect with people. That's what we're doing here, is we help to customize those tools to you and to help you to be able to effectively and efficiently develop them. So yes, you can do it on your own. It might take you a few years to do that. This is to help expedite that process and to say, here's your toolkit. that fits your personality that can help you. So, I mean, just for an example, in addition to the character strengths we're talking about, another thing I do in the anxiety and depression breakthrough sessions is to help you to learn how to live with positive perseverance. So we teach you authentic gratitude and how to do that in a way that fits your personality best. Maybe you are a journaler, and so a gratitude journal absolutely would help you. Or maybe you do better with post-it notes. You should see my office right now. They're all over the place. So, finding a way that works best for you to help you to express that. If you're interested in something like that, this is something that would ring a bell with you. You can go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough and look, has all the information on what we do there. There's links there for you to book an appointment. Again, that's practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough, and you can schedule your appointment today. And so today we're going to jump into another head strength, which is judgment. And if you're anything like most people, me included, when you hear the word judgment, you're all you're just automatically like, "Wow, don't judge me." But that's not what we're talking about here. And I've mentioned this before in previous episodes. It's really important to know the definition of a word within the context of the survey. So there's loads of personality surveys out there, strength surveys, all kinds of stuff. They all have, use similar words, but the definition within the context of that survey is going to be different. So understanding how it's intended and meant within the context of the survey that you're in is really important. So when we're talking about judgment within the context of this survey, we're talking about wisdom or someone is really good at critical thinking. So you've heard this saying, wow, that person has really good judgment. That's what we're talking about. They're people that, at its healthiest, when it's being used in balance, all that kind of stuff, you can examine ideas fairly and thoughtfully. And wow, do we ever need that today? In this crazy world that we're in, we really need people that have good judgment. So it is often misunderstood, especially when you're in the world of trauma. And if that trauma was related to people and judgment from people, you automatically go, but that we're not talking about that. We're just talking about being able to judge things fairly and thoughtfully, to be able to examine them and to be able to separate, past from future, and what's reality, what could be past trauma or future fears, and what is actually happening here and then in the here and now. So this pause that you're taking using judgment can be very regulating for a system. If you're overexerted, if you're shaped by fear or overwhelm, is to take a moment and just think about it. Now, I mentioned this in my introductory episode, and we highlighted a little bit on how to develop each character strength, but you can develop them. And this particular strength, I can testify to this. And I mentioned in my episode on Tuesday that I am 100% a heart leader. I lead from the heart when it comes to 99% of my life. It's just like I'm a heart leader. So when I went into this period when I was dealing with trauma and the depression that came with that, the darkness that came with that, this is a skill or a strength I had to develop to be able to survive. Being able to understand that feelings are just feelings. They may be valid and you need to talk, not ignoring them or suppressing them, but they're not necessarily the end all be all. Sometimes facts, you have to build your life on facts and to be able to separate feelings from that. And that's part of what judgment does for you. And being able to develop that strength helped me tremendously to get through those days when you felt like, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, I'm just going to go eat green worms. It was an old quote that we used to have as a child, this weird song. But when those days that you feel like you're all alone and so depressed and discouraged, you just can't take any more, you can't take another step forward, you just don't want to deal with it anymore, it's really important to bring judgment to the table and say, look, okay, I know you're feeling bad, and I'm not ignoring that, but you can also bring this judgment to the table as well and say, okay, is this really what's happening right now? So that critical thinking is really important because it weighs the information, considers the evidence, and forms balanced conclusions. Balanced conclusions, really important there. By looking at all the evidence and not just some of the evidence. And there's a whole nother discussion behind negative bias, which I won't get into today, only to say that when you believe something negative to be true, you will filter out anything that contradicts that and will just like suck in any tiny little thing that confirms it. So, like, if you believe that you're a bad student, you can make excellent grades in, you know, science or math or whatever and get one bad grade in English, and you're just convinced you're a horrible student, forgetting all the other positives. So, critical thinking or judgment will help separate that and find out what is really going on, what's true, and what isn't. And this is really, really helpful because trauma and anxiety tend to collapse time in. It's hard to separate out what happened in the past and understand that happened then. And yes, it absolutely did happen then, but it's not happening today. Or separating out the anxiety of what could be coming in the future. Like, this terrible thing is going to happen. I just know it is. Well, what facts do you have behind it? What's the evidence? Trying to separate that out, judgment helps you do that when trauma collapses all that into the present. And you're dealing with everything in this precise moment. Judgment is not about dismissing emotions. So please understand that. It could be something as confusing. We're talking about being more analytical and critical thinking here. We're not trying to ignore them or dismiss them. We're just bringing judgment to the table along beside them, to be able to hold them both at the same time. Emotions and reality together. You can be feeling absolutely terrible, and I'm not trying to dismiss that because trust me, I've been there. But also bringing reality to the table, and is a reality supporting how I'm feeling? And that pause, just that pause, can help get you reoriented and back on the right track. So in everyday life, judgment often shows up very quietly. It could look like fact-checking a thought before believing it. Just because something crosses your mind doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It might be, but just taking a moment to fact-check it. Slowing down decision-making when emotions are running high. So maybe not making decisions in the heat of the moment. Now, this is something I've had to work on. I can be an impulse buyer, just for instance. And so slowing that down a little bit, do I really need to buy that? Is that really necessary? Is this really going to help me? Using a little bit of judgment in that can help. It's a very realistic way, everyday way to use that. Considering multiple viewpoints before reacting. So sometimes, all the time, our judgments, our beliefs are influenced through our own prejudice. And I'm not talking about racial prejudice. I'm just talking about prejudice, period. What we think, what we believe, what our experiences are that have formed us and shaped us. Our conclusions, our thoughts, our reactions are going to be filtered through that. And so pausing for a moment and getting somebody else's viewpoint on the matter can really help us to be able to filter out feelings from reality and make those critical decisions. And then you can also ask yourself, using judgment, what information do I actually have, and what am I making up in my anxiety-driven brain that is making me think this? Is there something real here, or is this all in my imagination? For someone with anxiety, judgment might sound something like, I'm feeling really panicked right now, but I don't have evidence that something bad is happening. So let's take a moment and just think about it. Not dismissing the feeling, but just bringing judgment alongside there. Someone with depression, judgment might say, oh, this thought that things will never improve feels so true. But it is a thought, not a prophecy. Does not necessarily mean it's reality, it's just a thought. So again, bring judgment alongside. Now, if you're dealing with seasonal depression, and we're coming out of the winter, fall, well, obviously we're out of fall, but the winter seasonal depression is starting to wind down, in case you had a really bad case of it and you still could be in the middle of all that. We're heading into the season for spring, summer seasonal depression, and I will be talking about that sometime in March, so keep your ears peeled for that if you deal with that. But if you're dealing with seasonal depression, judgment can help normalize those patterns. You can recognize those patterns. So this dip in energy happens every single winter or every single spring, whenever it happens for you. It doesn't mean I'm failing. It just means that this is a bad month for me. And I told this to my insiders a couple months ago, but 100% confirmed January is a low energy month for me. It's like going through a swamp or it's horrible. It's just like struggling one step at a time, which I still did it. I'm an adult and I was doing adult things. But recognizing that January is just a low energy month for me, doesn't mean I'm failing. It just means it's a bad month for me and the next month will be better. And February has been loads better. Lots more sun, warmer temperatures. It's been a better month. But January is just a tough month. So understanding when you hit those lows and highs and that there's a pattern here, it doesn't mean you're failing. That's judgment in action. So it does not rush clarity. It creates a little bit of space for clarity to emerge. So instead of making that snap decision, you're giving a little bit of space to think it through and make a well-informed critical decision. Now, I've mentioned this before. Every single character strength has a dark side, meaning that it can be overused or distorted, whatever. So if you have the strength of judgment, overusing it or distorting it could look like cynicism. It could be emotional detachment, over analyzing every single decision, and paralysis through constant evaluation. So you've heard the term analysis paralysis. That's this right here. It's judgment being overused, where you're just stuck in a spiral and you can't get yourself out of it. Now, I have a friend of mine who has judgment as one of her strengths, and sometimes she'll come up to me. She's like, "Lori, just help me get this out of my head. I cannot make a decision." And she'll just like talk it out, and we'll come to a decision, and she'll move forward, just to get that second opinion, the outside opinion, to kind of kick her out of that paralysis analysis. So that's one way to help. So if you are overusing it in a trauma survivor, that could look like constant self-surveillance. So you're always monitoring thoughts, emotions, behaviors to avoid danger. For people with anxiety, um, judgment can, overdone, can feel like rumination. Like your brain just continues to analyze it, can attempts to feel safe, but never arrives at certainty. You're just constantly second guessing. For depression, overused judgment may shut down entirely. Your character skill of judgment could shut down entirely, leading to hopeless conclusions that feel logical but are actually symptoms. So here's a way to reframe that. Overthinking is not lack of judgment. It is judgment without safety. So you just need to take a step back, put some boundaries in place around that character strength, and get yourself back in balance a little bit. And it happens to all of us. We all overdo our character strengths at some point. So it's not like, what are you doing? It's just giving you some guidelines and some structure to that. And one thing to keep in mind is to really exercise judgment, you need to have enough calm in your nervous system to think clearly. So if you're like totally freaked out, your anxiety's really kicked in or whatever that could be, you might want to take a little bit of time just to ground yourself, maybe some deep breathing exercises or whatever that could be, just to get your thoughts to calm down enough. Talking to somebody else, bringing somebody else into that process to help you to be able to calm the nervous system down before making decisions. So, how can we use the character strength of judgment to support PTSD, anxiety, depression, et cetera, et cetera? How do the strengths help? So, for PTSD, judgment helps distinguish memories from current threat. And that's a really difficult thing with PTSD because you're not moving it from your short-term memory into your long-term memory, thus PTSD. But judgment helps. So it helps distinguish, okay, this is a memory from the past and not something I'm facing currently. It helps provide a little bit of cushion there. So it supports grounding by asking, what evidence do I have that I'm unsafe right now? So this can reduce the re-experiencing or hyper-arousal of whatever the trauma was. For anxiety, judgment can help interrupt the catastrophic thinking. So where you just like, wow, the world is coming to an end. It helps the brain evaluate the probability instead of reacting to possibility. Now, if you overdo it, it can keep you just analyzing. We talked about that just a minute ago on the shadow side. But when you're doing it correctly, if you keep it in balance, that judgment can interrupt those catastrophic thoughts. For depression, if you're overdoing it, it could just completely shut down. But when you're having it in healthy balance, judgment challenges absolute statements. Absolute statements are very, very, very dangerous. And that's a whole nother discussion in thinking traps. But when you get into this, like always, 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 this is always happening to me. I'm never successful. I'm always this and never this. Those can be very detrimental to your mental health. And so judgment can help say, wait a minute, it's not always. There was this time over here, and then maybe it triggers, there's this time over here. So it helps interrupt that by gently examining other facts that are present, that are true, rather than automatically believing that everything is always one way. For seasonal depression, judgment offers context. So like I was mentioned earlier, January is a really tough month for me. I did not get as much accomplished in January as I would have liked, but understanding that it's a tough month, like, okay, just, let it go. February is going to be better. And next year I need to plan better so I can have less on my plate to do in January. So judgment does not argue with emotions. We're not trying to talk ourselves out of feeling bad. It just stands beside them and brings a little bit of perspective to the table. How can you grow and develop judgment? So first is to separate facts from fears. So when thoughts feel overwhelming, you say, what do I know for sure? And what am I afraid might be true? Both can exist, but they are not the same thing. So understanding there's a difference. They can exist at the same time, but they're just not the same thing. Practice both and thinking. Instead of, I'm anxious, so I can't cope. Try, I'm anxious, and I've handled hard things before. Externalizing thoughts. Now, this is the one way that sometimes journaling helps me. I'm not a big journaler. I always wanted to be, but I'm just not. But externalizing thoughts is one place that it's really helped me. So writing thoughts down or saying them out loud. If you're not a writer, you can say them out loud. And seeing them outside of your head makes them easier to evaluate. So sometimes when I would just be stuck in this really negative place, I would grab my journal and write it out, and it would really help. Regulate first, think second. So as I mentioned earlier, you really need to have your nervous system calm down a little bit before you start making those critical, thinking through judgment decisions. So just taking a little bit to calm your system down can really help. So just keep in mind, judgment is not a tool for control. It's actually a tool for orientation. It helps you to understand that you're in the present, not the past or future, and it helps separate what you feel as opposed to what facts are. Both can be present. They're just two very different things. So as we close, remember this. Judgment is not about being right. It's about being rooted in reality. You don't need to analyze everything you think or feel. Sometimes the most skilled judgment is knowing when to stop thinking and rest. So learning how to shut that door in your brain, very important skill to develop. And we'll end with this reflection for you to think about. What's one thing you've been treating as a fact that might actually be a fear? You don't need to answer it. Taking the time to notice the difference between a fear and a fact is enough, because it can help you make better decisions in the future. And with that, we're going to wrap it up for today. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Quick reminder to check out the brand new website, practicalsolutionsforptsd.com. Has all the links I'm always talking about, including the one to the anxiety and depression breakthrough coaching sessions. So check it out. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.